A club forged in glory, shattered by tragedy, and reborn from the ashes. Liverpool FC isn't just a football team, it's an obsession, a religion, a force of nature. They've conquered Europe, suffered betrayal, and risen when the world counted them out. From the miracle of Istanbul to the agony of near misses, this is the story of Liverpool, the club that refuses to kneel. But to understand Liverpool's relentless spirit, we have to go back to where it all began. Anfield wasn't always the home to Liverpool. In 1892, it belonged to Everton, until a bitter dispute over rent saw the club walk away, leaving one man with a stadium but no team. That man was John Holding, a businessman with a vision. But what he did next wasn't just about filling empty seats, it was about creating something bigger than football itself. With no players, no history, and no identity, Holding built Liverpool FC from nothing. The early years were a fight for survival, but Liverpool didn't just survive, they thrived. By 1901, they were crowned champions of England. 5 years later, they did it again, proving they weren't just another club, they were here to stay. But football was changing, and dominance was never permanent. The club went through ups and downs, struggling to recapture the magic. Yet when Liverpool looked finished, they always found a way back. In 1922 and 1923, back-to-back league titles put them back on top. It wasn't just about winning, it was about establishing Liverpool as one of England's true giants. Then came the Second World War. Football took a back seat, and when it returned, the landscape had shifted. New powers were rising, new teams were hungry. Liverpool needed a statement. In 1947, they delivered. Against all odds, in a league disrupted by wartime chaos, they emerged as champions again. It was more than a trophy, it was a declaration that Liverpool FC was still alive. But there was still one piece missing: the FA Cup, the prize that had always eluded them. In 1950, they had their chance. Under the Wembley Arch, Liverpool faced Arsenal, with a nation watching. 90 minutes later, dreams were shattered. A 2-0 defeat. No FA Cup, no glory, just heartbreak. That loss left more than just disappointment. It left questions. Were Liverpool a club of the past, stuck in the old glories? Or was there something greater waiting just beyond the horizon? The answer was coming. Change was coming. A new era, a new leader. A man who would take Liverpool from the shadows and turn them into legends. His name? Bill Shankly. Liverpool was broken when he arrived in 1959. The club that once ruled England had become a ghost of its former self, drowning in mediocrity. The second division was their prison, and Anfield was no longer a fortress. It was a relic of past glories. But Shankly didn't see failure, he saw potential. He saw a club waiting to be reborn. From the moment he walked through the gates of Anfield, Shankly wasn't just managing a football team, he was leading a revolution. He ripped apart the old system, tossing out outdated methods and deadwood players. In their place, he built something new. The training ground became a factory of excellence. The dressing room became a temple of belief. And behind the scenes, Shankly formed the legendary Boot Room, a group of brilliant football minds that would shape Liverpool for decades. But all the philosophy in the world meant nothing if Liverpool couldn't escape the second division. That was the first battle. In 1962, they won the war. Liverpool was back in the first division, and they weren't coming back just to participate. They were coming back to conquer. And it didn't take long. 2 years later, in 1964, Liverpool stood at the top of English football once again, champions of England. But for Shankly, this was only the beginning. There was still unfinished business, a wound that had never healed. The FA Cup, the trophy that Liverpool had never won. The heartbreak of 1950 still lingered, but this time it would be different. In 1965, under the roaring Wembley lights, Liverpool defeated Leeds United. After 73 years of waiting, they had finally lifted the FA Cup. The image of Shankly standing on the pitch, arms raised in triumph, became an immortal symbol of Liverpool's rebirth. With their first taste of glory, Liverpool only became hungrier. Another league title followed in 1966, proving their dominance in England. But Shankly knew true greatness couldn't be measured by domestic success alone. To become legends, Liverpool had to rule Europe. In 1973, they did just that. The UEFA Cup, Liverpool's first European trophy. But Shankly, always the perfectionist, didn't stop there. That same year, they reclaimed the English League title. The empire he had envisioned was now a reality. Liverpool had become a dynasty. The foundation was stronger than ever. The club was no longer just about football. It was a way of life. The players believed, the fans believed, the world believed. And then, in 1974, everything changed. Shankly stunned football by announcing his retirement. After 15 years of transforming Liverpool from a forgotten club into an unstoppable force, he walked away. Anfield was his life, but he had given everything. The city begged him to stay. The fans worshipped him like a god, but his decision was final. Yet the question lingered, could Liverpool survive without the man who had built them? The heartbeat of Anfield was gone. Bill Shankly, the messiah who had dragged Liverpool from the depths, had walked away. For any other club, this would have been the end of an era, a decline, a fading into the background. But Liverpool wasn't just any club. In the shadows of Shankly's empire stood a quiet genius, a man who had learned every lesson, absorbed every philosophy, and studied every detail. He wasn't a fiery leader, he wasn't a man of grand speeches, but he had something even more dangerous, an understanding of how to win. His name was Bob Paisley, and under him, Liverpool would not only survive, they would reach heights that even Shankly hadn't dared to dream of. The transformation was immediate. By 1976, Paisley had already delivered a league title and the UEFA Cup. Liverpool were dominant and relentless, but the true test was yet to come. For years, Liverpool had ruled England. Now they were ready to take Europe. Come 1977, the European Cup final. Rome, Liverpool versus Borussia Mönchengladbach. 90 minutes later, the dream was reality. Liverpool had conquered Europe. From a club fighting for survival in the second division to the champions of the continent, the Kings had arrived. But Kings defend their throne. A year later, Liverpool were back in the final. This time, Club Brugge stood in their way, and once again, Liverpool triumphed. The European Cup wasn't a one-time miracle, it was an expectation. By 1981, it was no longer a question of whether Liverpool could dominate Europe. It was a question of how many trophies they would collect. In Paris, they lifted their third European Cup, defeating Real Madrid. No longer just champions, Liverpool were now a dynasty. Paisley was a man of few words, but his record spoke louder than any speech. By the time he retired in 1983, he had delivered 6 league titles and 3 European Cups. No English manager had ever achieved more, but the machine he built wasn't slowing down. Another figure was waiting in the wings, another leader, another evolution. The Liverpool dynasty wasn't finished, it was just getting started. Liverpool had conquered everything. Under Bob Paisley, they'd become the undisputed kings of England and Europe. By the time he stepped down, Liverpool was a machine, one that seemed unstoppable. But football doesn't pause for legacies. The throne had to be passed on. First to Joe Fagan, then to a man who wasn't just a manager, he was already a legend in his own right. His name was Kenny Dalglish. Before Dalglish, though, there was one final chapter in the old guard. In 1984, under Fagan's leadership, Liverpool completed an unprecedented treble: the League Cup, and the European Cup. In Rome, they defeated AS Roma in their own stadium, proving that Liverpool feared no one, no matter the odds. It should have been the continuation of their European dominance. Instead, what followed would change English football forever. 1 year later, tragedy struck. May 29, 1985, the European Cup final. Liverpool versus Juventus at Heysel Stadium in Belgium. What should have been another historic night for football turned into a nightmare. Crowd trouble escalated, a wall collapsed, 39 fans lost their lives. Most of them were Juventus supporters. Football had become secondary. English clubs were banned from European competition, a punishment that would last 5 years. Liverpool, the kings of Europe, were exiled from the throne. The club's name was now associated not just with glory, but with disaster. Amidst the chaos, Liverpool turned to a man who understood the club better than anyone. Dalglish was more than just a player. He was Liverpool's beating heart. And now, as player-manager, he had to lead them into an uncertain future. His response? A League and FA Cup double in 1986. Even in exile from Europe, Liverpool remained dominant in England, but no trophy could prepare the club for what was coming. April 15th, 1989. The Hillsborough disaster. Liverpool faced Nottingham Forest in the FA Cup semi-final at Hillsborough Stadium. Thousands of Liverpool fans travelled, full of hope, expecting another step towards silverware. Instead, they walked into one of the darkest days in football history. Crushed against metal barriers in an overcrowded section of the stadium, fans had nowhere to escape. The game was stopped after 6 minutes, but by then, the damage was done. 97 Liverpool fans lost their lives. Fathers, sons, daughters, friends, gone. simply for the crime of loving their club. The pain stretched beyond Anfield. The city of Liverpool mourned, united in grief but also in anger. The truth was twisted, lies were told, the victims were blamed, but Liverpool never forgot, never forgave, and never stopped fighting for justice. It would take decades before the real story was acknowledged. The tragedy broke something inside the club. Dalglish carried Liverpool through the storm, but it took its toll. By 1991, the burden was too heavy. He stepped down, emotionally exhausted, leaving behind a Liverpool that, for the first time in years, felt uncertain. In 1990, Liverpool had won the league again. No one could have imagined that it would be their last title for 30 years. The dynasty had ended. What came next was something Liverpool hadn't known in decades: struggle. By the late 90s, the unthinkable had happened. Liverpool were no longer the standard of English football. Manchester United had taken that crown, and Liverpool could only watch from the shadows. The club needed a revolution. Then came Gerard Houllier, a man with a vision. Houllier built a disciplined, organised Liverpool, and in 2001, the hard work paid off. A historic treble in the FA Cup, League Cup and UEFA Cup. For the first time in years, Liverpool lifted major silverware, but the ultimate goal, the league and the Champions League, remained out of reach. By 2004, a new leader arrived, Rafa Benitez. Tactical, methodical, ruthless. He wasn't here to restore Liverpool to relevance. He was here to take them back to the summit of Europe, and he sure did reach the Champions League final. Liverpool versus AC Milan, the Champions League final. On one side, a Milan team packed with legends: Maldini, Pirlo, Kaká, Shevchenko. On the other hand, a Liverpool side that had defied the odds just to reach this stage. Few believed they stood a chance. Within 50 seconds, those doubts were confirmed. Maldini scored. Before half-time, Crespo struck twice more, 3-0. Milan were cruising. Liverpool were broken. But football is written in moments, and Istanbul was about to witness something unforgettable. The second half began, and Gerrard rose to head in a goal. A lifeline. Then Smyser struck from a distance, 3-2. Minutes later, Gerrard won a penalty. Xabi Alonso stepped up. Dida saved, but Alonso smashed in the rebound. 3-3. In 6 minutes, Liverpool had pulled off the impossible. Milan was stunned. Extra time came and went, with Dudek producing an incredible double save to deny Shevchenko. Then, penalties. One by one, Milan's stars faltered. Shevchenko, the man expected to deliver, stepped up. Dudek saved. Liverpool had done it. Champions of Europe. From humiliation to glory. From despair to destiny. The miracle of Istanbul was complete. Liverpool's return to the top was short-lived. In 2007, they reached another Champions League final, a chance for revenge against Milan. But this time, there was no miracle. A 2-1 defeat. Worse days followed. Under American owners Hicks and Gillett, Liverpool spiraled into financial ruin. By 2010, the club was on the brink of bankruptcy. Off the pitch, chaos. On it, decline. Rafa Benitez left. Hope flickered in 2013-14. Brendan Rodgers built a thrilling, attacking team led by Luis Suarez and Steven Gerrard. For the first time in years, the Premier League title felt within reach. Then, the slip. Gerrard lost his footing. Chelsea pounced, and Liverpool's dreams crumbled. A golden chance wasted. More heartbreak, more waiting. The rest, we all know. Klopp arrived. He took the reins. He turned doubters into believers. In 2018, Liverpool reached the Champions League final, but fell to Madrid. 1 year later, they were back. This time, they finished the job. Champions of Europe. Then, the moment Anfield had waited 30 years for. In 2020, Liverpool conquered England. Premier League champions at last. By 2022, Klopp's machine had won everything. League, Europe, Cups, and nearly a historic quadruple. Liverpool had fallen, suffered and waited. But Klopp brought them back. From doubt to glory. If you like this video, subscribe for more. Until next time.